Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the How Did You Learn to Do That podcast. Thank you so much for coming back this week to listen to this new episode. We would love if you can help us grow by sharing this podcast with your family and your friends, as well as liking and subscribing and following us on all our social media accounts, as well as on YouTube and Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And this week, we're back with the episode I promised you last week, which is on which top 15 books have changed my life. And, I have to actually say, I had to limit to 15 books that have had an impact on my life, or at least the way I've looked at the world and looked at my life, as well as helped me to shift my mindset and start making those connections. And it's been a lot of these books are very reflective for me. So I've, read it and I've reflected on my own life and how things are going and how I relate to this story and to this knowledge that's being shared. So there are tons more books that I can share, but I had to limit to 15. So I picked 15 that, as I was going through the boxes and boxes and boxes of books that I have, that kind of really brought a feeling for me, like, oh, I remember reading this book and I remember where I was at the point in my life when I was actually reading this book. So I'm going to just dive in. I'll link all these books onto my blog for you so you can take a look at them. And then you can click on the link. I'll have the Amazon affiliate links for all the books. So you can click on it and purchase the book if you're interested to read. And if you want more in-depth synopsis or knowledge about the book, or whether you should get it or not, let me know. Send me a note or send me an email or just message me on Instagram and I'll get back to you. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm a little biased here. So I'm from Afghanistan. So of course I have to start this with The Kite Runner. The Kite Runner is it's a book that has changed the world, to be honest. A lot of people, it's so popular because of how raw the information is in here, but also, with the war in Afghanistan, it became so popular after the US invaded in 2011. After 9/11 attacks, the US went into for the war, and that's when a lot of people started noticing where's Afghanistan. So previous to 9/11, actually, when I would tell people I'm from Afghanistan, they would have no idea where I'm from. They would kind of go like, where's that? Is that close to this? Close to that? And if you actually look at the shape of Afghanistan and you go like this, that's the shape of Afghanistan. It's like a fist with your thumb out. And that might be like that because I'm mirrored here. But yeah, nobody knew. Now, when you tell people I'm from Afghanistan, they look at you like, oh, do you know anyone that lives there? And I do have family there still, but it's so funny the way they look at you. So I love this book because not only did it bring home the message of what people go through there, but also me, myself. Like, I hear stories from my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my family, my cousins. But when I read this book, I was like, oh, wow, like I actually resemble my family in this book. And this book speaks about the trials, the triumphs of this country. And I'm a refugee, as I've mentioned. My family left Afghanistan quickly and abruptly. So I relate a lot to this book. And it really speaks to my history, my ancestry, my connection to my country of Afghanistan. And it's just a book that I always go back to. And actually, all of his books are my favorite, but I can only pick one for this. Otherwise, this 5 of these books would take over for him. But honestly, I would say anybody that wants to just connect, find a book that connects with you about your history, your, where you're from, your background, and just try to get to know the history of the people in your country. That is the most important thing that you can do to really get to know yourself as a person and your family as well. I think it's really great to reflect on that as well. All right, so Kite Runner is the absolute favorite. And I'm going to actually try to go in a bit of a sequential order from what I remember of when I read these books, and kind of, when I'm going to talk about the ones I read the longest time ago first, and then the ones that I'm reading more recently. And I'm also going to share a couple books that that also just came in the mail this week that I'm going to get into as well. Okay. So the next book is this one. It's called The Black and Blue Sari. So this book, actually, at the time that I bought this book, it wasn't published. It was actually let me see if I have the sticker. I don't, but I used to work at Chapters when I was at university. And at Chapters, you can actually self-publish books. Chapters will sell it for you, but you have to publish it, and you have to keep track of your inventory, and you have to keep track of when people come out. You don't go through a big publisher. So this was one of the self-published books of a woman that was in the community. Her name is Kamal Dillon, and she's an advocate for violence against women. So this is a story about a woman, that was tortured, that was traumatized, that had a lot of stuff happen to her. She has children, and it's just a story of, how do you get out of these situations and come out on the other side trying to be positive. And I just was like, at the time, I had someone really close to me also going through a lot of abuse by their partner. And so I just needed to understand it, to understand how better to help that person. And this book really helped me at that time. It really helped me to understand the way the way the abuse actually traumatizes the person being abused, as well as the children, and how sometimes you get into victims, they don't feel that they have a way out. It's really hard. There's a lot of courage that needs to come out of it. There's a lot of people that try to keep you abused, and try to keep it as hush hush, especially where when there's abuse happening, they don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. There's people of the abuser, there's people that help the abuser keep his or her abuse to his or her partner quiet. And they try to do that because they don't want that person that they love and they care for to go to jail or to, be found or whatnot. But I think that, if we can all just understand and help to stop the cycle of abuse, it's really important. But this book is just so good. It's raw. It's a very difficult read if you have experience with violence or abuse, or someone close to you. So I'm just warning you, it is raw, but it is literally the most inspiring book. And after I finished reading this book, I was just in tears. I was crying for days and days and days. And I just said, I just can't believe it. And I actually read this book 3 times over because I couldn't believe what was happening. Like, I didn't know if what happened to her was something that I made up in my head, in reading this book, and it was a daydream, or did it actually happen? So I had to go back actually a lot of time to be like, is this real? Is this seriously what happened? And it's just very traumatizing. And I'm going to see actually, see what happened. Okay, I'm not gonna actually ruin it for you guys, so I'll let you read it. I think that she now sells it publicly, but if not, let me know, and I'll actually want to try to link her bio. I know she has a website. I'm gonna try to link that onto my blog if I can, if she still has it active, and then hopefully I can get the book linked as well, so you guys can get it and read it because it's so good. And so for me, when I pick up books, I try to pick up books that resonate with me and what I'm going through at that time. I'm not, like I said before, I don't love to read fiction because I feel like sometimes, like sci-fi, for example, like that's never going to happen in real life. So for me, I can't read something that I'm like, that's never going to happen. And UFO is never going to come pick me up and take me, and I'm never going to do this, But sometimes those books are great. They're great escapes for people. There's messages in those stories. There's insights that you can draw upon. So you read what you want to read in the time that you want to read it, and whatever resonates with you. But for me, it's definitely true stories, history, some fiction. And I think I have a couple. Do I have any fiction actually? I don't have any fiction. I actually have no fiction. Okay, I have one fiction. Actually, I'm just going to show it to you now. I'll show it to you now. So it's the heartbreaking work. Oh my gosh. This is actually not fiction either. Okay. It's the heartbreaking work of Staggering Genius. This I thought was fiction, but it's not. It's written like a fiction novel. It is so good. It's about a story of this writer, Dave Eggers. I read this actually for a class in university, but I loved it. Loved it. I won't give away, but I'll let you read that. I honestly thought I was going to have at least one fictional book, but I don't. What could I do? You just got to go with what your gut tells you. All right, so the next one is also of a woman in Afghanistan. This is called, oops, with the brains. It's called A Woman Among Warlords by Malala Joya. Again, read this book because, of course, she's from Afghanistan, and you gotta understand, because in Afghanistan, it's a developing country, so parliament, government basis, all of that, they're very, very much male dominated. But in the last couple of years, women have also had a position and a place in there. And Malala Joya, was a parliamentarian, and she, kind of was the first one to really make the pathway for other women. But she was working amongst warlords. She was living in a different house every day because there's executions out for her. People were trying to kill her, bomb her, everything, all the time. So it's just inspiring to me that this woman, this strong woman, not only, decided to take a job that was not traditionally a woman, had women in there. It is a woman's role, totally is. But at the time, women weren't really in that, and it was new, and people were outraged that she even thought she couldn't have a job like that. But she persevered, she did it, and, she's just an inspiring woman. So for me at that time, I was in university when I read this book, and I was just thinking, how can I change the world? What can I do as a career to help change the world? And this came across my desk, and I just thought it was just such a good book and so inspiring. And I continue to follow her actually now, to see what she's up to, because that's what I love about nonfiction, is that you can continue to follow the character or the person in that story, and to see how they've evolved and what they get to do next. All right, so as I've mentioned earlier, when I read books, I read because something is going on in my life at that time, or somebody in my close circle's life, or just a family friend or a friend of a friend or somebody. And it's a place where, I always love to help. I love to share knowledge. I love to relate to what's going on, or to direct people to a certain position. And so I read a lot to give me that knowledge to help inspire and share. So the next couple of books is going to be about that. So I know someone that was very close to me that was suffering from an addiction. And at the time, I just didn't know how to help them. I was overwhelmed myself. I just needed some knowledge. I just needed a way. I understood a lot about it because of my educational background in public health, but I know that the people surrounding this person that had the addiction didn't understand. So I needed to be able to read in order to understand the addiction, understand where it comes from, understand how to help, understand how to explain to others how to help. So I just spent a lot of time trying to increase my knowledge to figure out what's the best way to help here. And so the next couple of books is about that. So the first one is this one. It's called In the Realm of the Hungry Ghosts by Dr. Gerber. And so he is, local in Vancouver, but he's world-renowned physician who works with people in addictions, and he always attributes the addiction to trauma. He always says that people are traumatized. It's the trauma that's the addiction, and the plague or the epidemic or the pandemic of the world is trauma. We're all experiencing some level of trauma, but some people experience it at catastrophic levels, and then they self-medicate with whatever helps to relieve that trauma or that pain. And so, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be food, it could be, even exercise. Some people, they just exercise constantly because that's their addiction. That's the way they try to manage their emotions, or it could be the lack of food. It literally could be anything that is a way to relieve pain. And that could be an addiction. And so this book, it's, he had a couple other ones. I have the other one. There's one on stress. There's one on anxiety, I believe. And I just can't explain this book to you. It's Close Encounters with Addiction, just like it says there. It is honestly one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. The way he explains it is just so incredible. So if you suffer from an addiction, or if you know somebody who suffers from an addiction, or you just want to know how people become addicted, or a lot of people say that people that live entrenched lives, like, why don't they get out of it? And it's honestly, read this book and you will understand that the trauma, unless the trauma is healed and unless the trauma is addressed, sometimes just no, it's not gonna be enough of an opportunity, and that's the thing. Actually, I'll say that I said before, I think that the only difference between me and you is an opportunity. The only difference between myself and another person my age that, is heavily involved in an addiction is opportunity, um, the opportunity to heal, the opportunity to work through your emotions, the opportunity to have someone there for you, to have opportunity to, be able to cope. You have to understand, coping is not a skill everybody has. It's a privilege, it's an honor to be able to cope, but not everybody has that skill. Not everybody is encouraged to have that skill. So read this book. It's life-changing. It's life-changing. And so in addition to that book, I was reading a couple other ones, actually, because I wanted to know more about it. And this one, actually, I lost the sleeve for it, but it's called Double Double. Double Double by Martha Grimes and Ken Grimes. It's a mother and son book about addiction. They both were suffering from addiction at the same time, and they both decided to heal from that trauma and to heal from that and move forward in their lives together. So this one's a real true story about a mother and a son living through addiction together. And then I also definitely had to purchase this book when it came out and read it. But this is Nick Carter. It's called Facing the Music and Living to Talk About It. So he actually talks about his addictions. So once he got popular, once he got famous, the famous notoriety, the money, the expectations, the ability to get into clubs at any time. And he started really young. He started when he was 13 within Backstreet Boys. And all of that at such a young age, it just had such a big impact on him. And then his family, the structure of his family, his mom, his dad, his siblings, it was very difficult, very challenging. And he talks about his addictions, and today he's sober. He has 2 children of his own. He's married. He's absolutely just living the best version of his life and of himself that he can imagine. And he's so grateful. So if you follow along to him, he's so good. And don't dive in this book just because it's Nick Carter. It's actually such a good book. And it's just so inspiring to see that somebody that, has fame, has money, has everything that you would imagine, somebody could have, and often we look at celebrities and they, have mental health concerns, or they are addicted to drugs or alcohol or anything like that. You always think, why? You have all the money in the world. You have literally can hire anybody you want. You can literally take as much time as you want. Why would you do that? This was a good book to read to help to fully explain that. All right, so a couple other books that I have. I'm not really sure if these are going to be in order, to be honest, because I can't remember. These are more recent for sure, but I'll go through them anyway. So for our honeymoon, we actually did a 8-week tour in Southeast Asia. We went through to Hong Kong. From here, we went to Hong Kong, Thailand, all around Thailand, all the islands, in Bangkok. And we went to Bali, we went to Singapore, we went to Malaysia, we went to Cambodia, we went to Philippines. We were set to go to Laos and Vietnam as well, but we made a switch. So we didn't actually get to go to those 2 countries. But when we were in the airport in Singapore, I wanted a book because we were on our way to Bali. And I saw this one, it said Bali Undercover. And I was obviously drawn to it because I love to know the secrets of society and the secrets of things that we don't normally hear about. And, when we think about Bali, we think of, I'm going to go there and it's going to be serene. It's a peaceful country. It's a place that, people think of yoga and meditation and mindfulness when they go there, serenity. And so, which it is all of that stuff. It's awesome. It's beautiful, beautiful country. I highly recommend going. But then there is a secret to it. Bali relies a lot on tourism. They rely a lot on being able to support tourists because a lot of people go there. So this book is so awesome because this actually explains what goes on in Bali, what goes on in the actual communities to the people that are native to Bali, what goes on, what happens by outsiders or tourists coming in, trying to disrupt families, disrupt communities, disrupt their agriculture, disrupt their livelihoods. What happens to that? And this isn't just about, you know, this is actually really deep into the families, the women of Bali, how they're being taken advantage of by men from Western countries or developed countries, quote unquote. I don't really like to use that word, but developed countries that come in, um, to take advantage of women from Bali and think that they can get away with it, and they can't. And the people in Bali are waking up to it, and they're no longer allowing it, and they're stepping up. But it is really scary the way they're doing it. There is definitely violence. There's definitely gangs. There's definitely crimes that are happening. But I thought this was just so interesting. And at the time when I went, it was on my way to Bali. We had just finished coming from. We'd spent a couple weeks in Thailand, but just before Thailand, we actually went to we actually were in Bangkok first, and then we went to Cambodia. And in Cambodia, I think my life just changed a little in that vacation, or what I thought it was going to be changed for me, because I was expecting like fun, excitement and whatnot. And then, and the Lonely Planet tells you to do all these tours and whatnot. But in Cambodia, we did the tours, we did all of that. And then we started talking to our rickshaw driver, or the locals that we were at the resort we were staying at. And then I got to realize that the life that people live, and especially listening to the genocide of the Khmer Rouge, and and the story, the history of the people in Cambodia, it just got me thinking that this, just what is everybody going through? Like, we're all here to have fun, but like there's people locally that are going through stuff. And I wanted to just I got into this path of just trying to talk to as many locals as I can, because I wanted to learn about their country, then what's really going on in the country, as opposed to just what we see, and all that. So we did that in Thailand as well. So when we ended up in Singapore, which also has history, but is much more developed than the other countries. And then when we were on our way to Bali, I wanted to know a little bit more about the country before going there. And when I got this book, when I saw this book, actually, I was pretty excited that I can actually gain some knowledge about the country and kind of what is going on. So actually, the author Malcolm Scott says, he strips off the island's sunny veneer to reveal its dark and dirty underbelly, taking the reader where no tourist guide ever will. So it's really good. I'll link that also. He has another one too called Bali Raw that I'll link as well. Alrighty, so now I'm going to get into the books that I think. So all the books I read that gave me a lot of knowledge, and it was just the beginning of when I was trying to shift my mindset and trying to figure out, what am I doing? Where do I want to go? How do I want to help someone, etc. But I had read a lot of books just specifically just for me. A lot of books that I read about to learn about contexts or things to help other people, but also to help myself have that knowledge. But it's never a book that I read just for me, just for myself. And so when I got to university, I started looking at, what kind of person do I want to be in my career? What kind of person do I want to be as a professional? What kind of job do I want? And, all that. And my husband, he's just so good at knowing his worth, knowing his value, and he doesn't stand down at all. He doesn't, in any negotiation with work or anything, he knows what he wants to have. He knows the pay he wants. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he has no shame or guilt or anxiety about bringing that forward. Even like he's been in the middle of a job and been offered another job, and he's taken that job offer to his current boss and said, "This is what I'm being offered. Are you going to match it? Or if not, I'm going to leave." And he's just been able to go up the ranks and increase his salary so much quicker than anybody else that I know, because he's just fearless, And so then when he would tell me about that and tell me to be fearless too, then I was like, well, I don't really know. It works for you because you're a male and in your industry, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. We always hear about women being paid less than men. So I just don't know. So that's when I picked up Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. So when I picked this book up, this book really changed my life. I just don't, in any negotiation now, I know my worth. I know, I do my research. I know what I want to be paid. I know the job I want. I know the career I want. I'm able to say no to what I don't want to do within my job. I'm able to say yes to what I want to do. I'm able to ask for higher opportunities, bigger opportunities. I'm able to negotiate my salary, and I just recently returned from mat leave, and a lot of people would be grateful to return to a job after mat leave where they've kept it for you for 18 months. But when I walked back, I was like, okay, do I get my raise? Because I know I'm entitled to it. I'm not gonna be shy about asking. I know I'm entitled to it. And then I was at the time, there was some confusion, but I just stuck through to it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna ask because I know I'm entitled to it. I'm not gonna let it go. And I got it. So I had to a little bit of back and forth, but I did it. And there's no shame, there's no guilt in that. It's just your worth and you know what you're entitled to. So even with jobs, it's like my sister, there was a job she was offered that was a high ranking job, and she's like, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, yeah, you can do it. Don't shy away from the title. You can do it, and you can. And if you can't, get in the role, and then you'll learn to do it. Everybody gets a grace period in any job, so you can do it. So read this book. This is about how women in the workforce can take control of their careers, their future, and be able to make the positions that they will. And actually, after reading this book, I made the biggest career move of myself. I went from an administrative position straight to management, in less than 3 months, because I just kept pushing forward for it. I kept pushing for it with my boss, and then I finally did it. So don't be shy. Read this book. Take control of your life and your career. And honestly, it's so good. And actually, I don't recommend that book just for women. I highly, even more so, recommend it for men, because you need to understand what women in your workplace go through. Your wives, your sisters, your daughters, your cousins, your aunts, your mothers, your grandmas. You need to understand what women go through in order to be a better ally, and to make a change in their lives too, and in your own workplaces. And if you're a leader, I'd pick up that book and understand how the females that work for you and the women that work for you, how you can help to make their lives a lot easier and more equal. And understanding that they play dual roles a lot of the time. They come to work, but they go to home and they have a lot of work to do at home as well. So I would read that book. That book really changed me, changed the way I think, changed my mindset definitely about who I am as a person, my careers, and what I want to do in life. So the other one is this one by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. It's definitely more of a business book. It's, subtitled How Great Leaders Inspire Everybody to Take Action. It is definitely more into the business realm of life, but there's definitely big learnings you can have from this. One of them is called the Golden Circle, where in the middle, you want to figure out your why. What is it? Why are you doing this? Why are you developing this program? Why do you want people to buy into it? Why are you doing this, etc.? And then if you know your why, you can build around it, but always go back to the why. If you sell your why, you'll have more loyal people. And for you as a person, if you always keep your why, and we talked about this with Ian's episode on episode 5, episode 5, he said, you have to know your mission. You have to know your vision for your life in order to understand what you can say yes to and what you can say no to, and how to move forward. So I would recommend that book because it is inspiring, and it actually, for one of the big projects I had at work, I had to develop a large program. Having the why, I got the most buy-in that anybody has ever got, because previously you just kind of trudge forward, but people are always asking, what's the intention of this? Why are we doing this? What is this for? But I was able to answer all that question just because I read this book, the answering why we do this and why you do what you do. So it's a great book and a great question actually to ask yourself, but also in your life and other things that you do. It's a great tool to apply, and skill to apply. So I'd definitely pick up that book if you'd like. So this one's more of a personal book as well. It's called The Rules Do Not Apply by Ariel Levy. So I read this book because she went through an experience that I've been through, and I'll share that experience at some point, but I'm just not ready to share that yet. But when I was going through that, I needed something to look at. I needed something to resonate with me, to help me to understand, to help someone validate my feelings basically for me. And that's what this book did. It validated my feelings for me. It validated what I was going through. It validated that the way I was feeling, the way I was acting was okay in that moment because of what I was going through and the experience that I had. So this book just really validated my emotions for me, and that's what these books can do. That's what these stories can do for you. They can just validate that somebody's going through the same thing and they're reacting the same way, having the same mindset, and that can actually impact you too. Okay, so these next 5 books, these are my final 5 books. These are the ones I've read in the most recent, so in the last, I would say, 2 years. These are the ones that have changed my mindset the most than anything else I've ever read before. It really has brought up positivity for me. It's really made me be mindful of the way I act, the way I think, the way I process information, the way I feel. And even just pursuing my passion and my purpose in life and developing this podcast, I'd say I'd attribute a lot of it to these books here. So this one's also another follow-up book by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. It's called Option B, Facing Adversities, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy. So this book is about what happens when option A doesn't work out. And Sheryl actually wrote this book because after her husband had passed away. So her husband, Dave, had passed away suddenly of a heart attack. And that was her option A, her husband, her kids, her family, and she says here, like, what do you do when you can't? Option A is no longer an option. And she says, you just kick the shit out of option B. You make the best out of it. You kick the shit out of option B. And I had an option A and it didn't work for me. And then I was like, I can't just continue to revel in this. I need to get myself out of this. I need to heal. I need to move forward. And this book did that for me. I read the book, and again, similar to Lean In, she's such a good writer. So much Lean In, it just shifted my mindset, and I just thought, yeah, okay, I don't have to continue to try to pretend like I'm living option A. No, option A is off the table now. I'm gonna kick the shit out of option B, and I'm gonna live my best life. So I recommend this to anybody that's grieving, anybody that's going through anybody that had an option A that no longer exists or was quote unquote taken away from them or ruined for them, but they need to figure out how to move forward. This is a great book for you. So option B. This one, I'm sure a lot of you may know, it's called Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, I'm not going to swear, on here and say that word, but this book is so good. It literally switched my mindset, because even though I was starting to switch, I was still letting people get into my head. I was still letting society get into my head, the expectations people had for me and I had for myself, and other people had shared with me, or what I thought people wanted, which was not always the truth. This book helped me switch my mindset, because at the end of the day, you get, like I've said all the time, you're only in control of yourself. You cannot control anybody else. So you might as well just not give an F, So who cares? Live your life, live your best life, live what makes you happy, live with what makes you happy, makes you joyful, and encourage yourself. Be the most encouraging person to yourself. Don't ask anybody else to be that person. You be that person for yourself. And this book is a great one for that. And of course, Becoming by Michelle Obama. I thought this was so good because, when we think of Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, we think of, they're so famous, they're so popular, they have so much given to them, they're wealthy. We usually think of president, first lady, we think of that, right? But with Barack and Michelle, they're self-made. If you actually read her book, you'll realize that Barack was a nobody when they got married. Barack, he made himself with somebody. He moved the needle for himself. He moved forward. Michelle herself, did the traditional route that we talk about, went to school, grew up in a neighborhood, wanted to make her parents proud, worked hard, went to school, went to law school, became a lawyer, got a job, and was on her way to becoming a partner. That's what society tells us to do, and that's exactly what she did. And then she realized that was not her that was not bringing her joy. That was not her purpose in life. She had to figure out where she wanted to go, and then she took a lower ranking job that didn't require the education that she had, but brought her way more joy. And a lot of people in society might say, oh wow, you're taking, as a lawyer, you're taking a lower ranking job, lesser pay. Are you okay? You know, but for her, it wasn't about the pay, it wasn't about the notoriety, it wasn't about the ego of it. It was the passion, the purpose that she was taking that brought her so much joy. And same with Brock, you know, he did it himself. He worked hard, and, you know, he just always said yes to the opportunity, you know, and that's why when the opportunity come to become governor and then to like become president and vice and go up the ranks and work in the house and all that, he was ready. He was ready to go. You know, he was there. He was pursuing it, and it showed up. Opportunity showed up at his doorstep because he was seeking it. And once you open yourself to opportunity and you're asking for it, it will come and it will show up, and you'll see. Highly recommend. So this book here, The Path Made Clear by Oprah Winfrey, you'll notice a lot of the quotes that I share on my Instagram are actually out of this book. This book is, when I first got this book, I thought it was going to be a novel about her path. And, you know, I just got this last year, actually, when I was starting to think about, you know, now I've reflected of all that, but what is my purpose still? What's my path? What's my purpose in life? And this book actually helped to bring that into light. And I thought it was going to be a novel, but when I first got it, you know, and you flip through it, actually, it seems like it's just a whole book of quotes and whatnot, right? But it's not, actually. It's broken down into many different chapters that actually are reminiscent of how you manage your journey and your purpose in life. So there's the seeds, the roots, the whispers, the clouds, the map, the road, the climb, the give, the reward, and home. So it just goes through all the steps of your journey in life, to your purpose, to your path, you know, making it clear. You know, you have to take the step to find the seeds and plant it and let it grow, and then going on the road, figuring out your map, and, you know, climbing, and then being able to get home to understanding what your purpose in life is. And that book, it really is brought it to light, a lot of my mindset and how I think of things and where I am in my journey, and where I could go as well. And actually, I saw Oprah when she did her tour for this book last year, and she said, remember that she said that when her mom had passed away, she didn't really have a good relationship with her mom. But when her mom was dying, she went and said goodbyes, knew that was the last time she was going to see her mom and whatnot, got on a plane and had to go to an engagement that she had booked. And, you know, mid-flight, she realized something, that she needed to be there for her mom, even if her mom was not there for her, because her mom was trying to do the best that she could with what she knew and what she could do. So Oprah was feeling that I can't hold this resentment towards her. I need to heal too. So I'm actually going to flip the plane midway, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to take care of my mom until she dies. That's exactly what she did. And she said it was a healing experience for her. She got to connect with her mom deeper. She learned something about herself and her mom and their experiences, and it really was life-changing for her, and gave her the opportunity to actually heal and let go of that resentment as well. So I'd highly recommend that book. And this one, I just read this year as well, and I know I talk about him a lot, but he's just my favorite. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if it's Tolle or Tolle, but Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. So I love him because he talks about the ego, which is like, until I had heard him actually say that in the podcast episode series with Oprah, I didn't understand how that worked. You know, what do you mean by ego, right? And then now that I'm able to actually shift my mindset and think of my ego as a separate being, I'm able to let go of a lot of things. I'm able to let go of certain feelings, certain emotions, certain experiences. And I just think, you know, he's just so awesome. And, you know, actually, my birthday was May 11th, and every year around this time, I get a bit of anxiety, right? Because I track the success of my birthday, or how much people, or I used to previously track the success of my birthday, or how much people cared about me in my life by who posted on my Facebook wall. You know, I used to go like, okay, I got 48 people, I got 50 people, I got 60 people, you know, how many people would message me? You know, if I got a message on my phone from a friend, but they didn't post on my Facebook, I'd feel annoyed. Or, you know, just vanity metrics. Honestly, like vanity metrics was what I was looking at in order to measure the quality of my friendships with people, or measure just how important I am in other people's lives, or how important my birthday is. So I always hated my birthday because it never came to, it never met my expectation of what I had said. It never fulfilled my ego, right? But this year, after all this healing and everything, for this year, the first time ever, I was so excited for my birthday. Previous years, I didn't want to celebrate my birthday, but I felt I had to. I was forced to because I just wanted to pretend like somebody cared about me. My husband actually said that every year he's ever got me a gift, I never liked it. And it's not that I didn't like it. It's just, it was stuff I was dealing with myself. And this year, for my birthday, I was actually so excited to celebrate for the first time. And I didn't care who posted on my Facebook wall. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to see the people I love and care for. And, my husband, and he decided to do a lot more DIY stuff with my daughter for me for Mother's Day and my birthday, which are only a day apart. And I just loved it. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. I just want to spend the day with you guys. I don't want to do anything else. And that's what we did. And it was awesome. I just loved it. And I think that comes with a lot of healing. This time of the year gives me a lot of anxiety. Used to give me a lot of anxiety around my birthday and Mother's Day, but this year I didn't feel that as much. I still had it. I definitely had it. There was a point where my husband told me that he was going to ask a couple of our friends to do a social distance hang out at a park, and I was like, don't bother them, they don't even want to celebrate, why would you ask them? And he was like, well, actually everybody said they were coming and they were already planning if I hadn't messaged them anyway. And then in the moment I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm self-sabotaging myself. I'm going back to my old ways, and I've done all this work, I can't go back to my old ways. And so this book really helped me, a new purpose, a new earth, awakening to your life's purpose. So good, and I would highly recommend it to all of you. So the books that I'm getting into next, I'm so excited for. This one, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. You've heard me talk about this with Jackie in episode 2. She inspired me to get this book, to try it out, try the steps in this book to see how magic will come to light, and how I can help to become even a better version of myself and just be more grateful for my life and everything that it has offered to me in the past couple of years. And then this one actually just came in yesterday. It's called Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I just recently heard about Rachel Hollis because I was listening to an episode on Jay Shetty's podcast with her husband, Dave Hollis, who also wrote a book. And I've seen her come up a little bit more and more through the Rise movement that she's leading. And I realized that, I just love her story. I love her empowerment and her ability to help other people rise or become better versions of themselves. So I'm just so excited to get into those books. I'm so excited for the ability to and the honor to be able to read and to have the ability to change my mindset and shift and continue to grow and live and become the better version of myself. I'm waiting for a couple more books to arrive, and when I do get those, I'll do another one in a couple of months. Once I've read those and read these ones actually, and I'll give you my review. But if you have any books that you read that you think are so good that you'd like to share with me, and I can link them onto my social media accounts for others to know too, send me a note, let me know, and I'll be happy to share. Okay, so I hope that those 15 books that help change my life, to shift my mindset, were valuable to you. I'm excited to know what you read, and if you do read any of these books, please tag me at How Did You Learn to Do That, and we can build a community. And maybe if this grows, we can even build a book club and pick a new book every month and read it together and help to inspire each other. All right, and so thank you for listening to the end of this episode. Thank you for all the love and support over the past month and a couple of weeks here. I love sharing my knowledge with you. I love sharing all these books that help inspire me with you. And if there's anything else you would like me to share, or any topics you'd like me to talk about, or if there's anybody that inspires you that you'd like me to reach out to have them on this podcast, please send me a note and let me know. And I'd also love if you could help us grow by sharing, liking, and subscribing us on all our social media accounts, including YouTube and our podcast platforms, and to share this knowledge and this podcast with the people around you so we can help grow a community. All right. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. But if not, I hope you have a great week, and I hope you can dive into some of these books. Bye.